And then it turned out it was an egg. Space. The final frontier. These are the voyages of the U.S.S. Adequate. Our continuing mission until we are cancelled and replaced by something better. To review every episode and movie of Star Trek in existence. To seek out new guests and make them very uncomfortable. To boldly go where many other Star Trek-based YouTube shows have gone before. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Trekking Up North. I am your host as ever, Captain Goodwill, and joining me as ever is the... Hang on a minute. He looks... Oh no, that's not Science Officer Synoiz. That's Mirror Universe Synoiz. Oh my god, he's back!
Surprise, fuckers!
I wondered why you weren't laughing.
It is I, Mirror Universe Synoiz, or as I like to call myself, Synoiz, because the Mirror Universe is your thing, because how it works. But anyway,
Okay.
normal Synoiz, or as I'd like to call him, technically what he says to Lee should count as sexual harassment, Synoiz, isn't here today because he couldn't be fucked reviewing this bloody film.
Is this film that bad that you had to come from another dimension just to review it?
This film,
Another universe.
I'm going to put it in context. This film, I fell asleep for 20 minutes while watching it. And so I rewound it to see what I'd missed. And I hadn't missed anything. That's what this film is.
If you haven't guessed already, everybody out there, we are beginning our movie reviews this year, starting off with Star Trek Juan, the motion picture.
Is that the Mexican version?
Juan, yes.
Is that the Mexican?
I needed the Mexican version because it was actually more enjoyable. The
Star Trek Juan,
Señor
the
Kirk.
motion picture.
¿Cómo
The
está?
Mexican picture.
¿Cómo está, Señor Spock? No. We are reviewing Star Trek The Motion Picture this week here on Trekking Up North. But before we get into that, Mirror Universe Synoiz, or as you like to be called, Synoiz, how has your week been?
It's been all right. Can't really complain. Same old, you know. Bit of apples and pears. Bit of how's your father. Bit of putting geese in bins, you know. Letting them out. Feeling a bit guilty about it. Giving them money afterwards. Then buying property. Getting on the housing market. Slowly taking over our economy. You know, usual thing.
Cool. I've been painting.
Finger painting or...
It feels like it. I am in the process of renovating my home, starting with the redecoration of my living room, which, as I found out this week, is like painting the entire fucking Red Dwarf with a brush. Wow. Holy shit. And quite ironically, it is red, as many people have seen, and I am just sick of it now, man. I have done 2 coats and that fucker is not holding to the wall.
To be fair, you know, you've painted for like 2 days straight, possibly more.
Yeah.
And are the fumes getting to you?
Yes.
Because you must be high as a kite after painting like a whole room and then just sitting in the room being like, well, this is nice.
Well, the
I
first
can see
day,
20 colours.
The first day, Storm Jocelyn was still there, so I couldn't open any windows through fear of the windows being ripped clean off their hinges. So I had the trickle vents on. So
The trickle vents?
The trickle vents, as they are
Is that
called.
something Lee has?
No. Anyway, so all I could have was
Where do you think milk comes from in the Mirror Universe?
So anyway, I just had to have the trickle vents on, and then I finished at 6 o'clock on what day was it? Tuesday, and then I was like, oh shit, I need to be on Twitch. So I was high as a kite, playing, what was it, Goat Simulator or Wheel of Fortune? One of the two. I think it was Wheel of Fortune.
I think it was both, because I saw a clip. I didn't get to tune in, but I saw a clip of you playing Wheel of Fortune, but then it said on the thumbnail it was Goat Simulator. So you must have switched at some point, maybe?
Oh, I changed it. I don't know why I never did it. But yes, I was high. all the way through that. It's been a struggle, but it's nearly there. One more coat, so 5 more litres of paint, and I might have a room that's habitable. Made even more worse by the fact that the sofa company went, oh, the sofa that was due on the 5th of February, it's coming Monday, so hurry up. And I'm just like, fuck!
I'm still really annoyed at that. Like, surely, surely you can tell them, no, I specified this date for it to arrive, so hang on to it.
I don't know, man. I should have gone with DFS. I heard there was a sale on. But yeah. So
DFS having a sale, that sounds unlikely.
But then
in the mirror universe,
but then you go
sales
to
have DFS.
You go to DFS. Or Yakov Smirnoff in the corner. Okay, but you go to DFS and then you see the little signs go, hurry, sales end soon. And it's been ending for the last 30 years as far as I could see.
It's like then there's like 0.1 of a second until the next sale starts, and you just like surely they're the same. Do you remember the Officers Club in the UK?
Oh my god,
where they got like sued. They got sued because like the I forgot what they're called. The trading standards were basically going, you can't mark something as on sale if it's never actually been at retail at full price. So they were just going, because there was never a point when they weren't on sale, there was never a point that they were actually the normal price, so it wasn't a sale. That was just the standard price, so they kind of got sued for it, and then they were like, oh, okay, and then ended up going bankrupt.
Wow.
But yeah, because it's like going, hey, you need to not be on sale occasionally,
It's insane. Like every time you go in, there's always a sale at DFS. I mean, people who don't know the UK, DFS is a furniture store that primarily, I think it just primarily sells sofas and then other ancillary bits. But for the last 35 years, they have had a sale, and it feels like constantly they have had the same sale. But then when you walk in, they have little leaflets on the sofa saying, hurry, sale ends on the 31st of January. And you just like, and then the new sale starts on the 1st of February, perhaps.
It will be as well.
Yeah.
It'll be that there's like a day that then they don't have the sale on, and then they're like, oh, well, back on sale.
But I did have a sudden realization when I was painting the room, apart from it being like Red Dwarf, that it's kind of like Picard's Ready Room from the Next Generation. When the third coat is on, it's quite dark. So then that led me to purchase the actual lithograph from the Ready Room on the Enterprise D. So I'm going to have that suspended on my wall. So when someone walks into the living room, it's going to be that, and then hopefully that like an open work of Shakespeare on a plinth, a Stargazer, and then just Earl Grey constantly on tap on the table. I'm going full Picard. I think the paint fumes are really getting to me. Brain damage, I think I must have.
I think that sounds amazing, though. That sounds really like. I think this is the thing, though. It's your house. It's the fact of it's your house, so you can do whatever the hell you want with it.
Yeah.
And if you're just like, and the wonderful thing is, if you don't like it, you can redecorate. So if you do it, and then you're like, okay, this is a bit silly, having like a red room, then you're like, cool. You can just, that's the thing. It's the realizing that the consequences that don't matter, where you can just change your mind later. It makes everything a lot easier. And the fact is, I think it'll look amazing.
I think it will. It really will. It's just taking far longer than I had hoped. Speaking of taking far longer than is actually necessary,
I've been dreading this all week because I tried before DragCon. I tried watching this movie when I still had Paramount Plus because I basically tried watching. I watched this and I think I got like 3/4 of the way through, and then I sort of paused it and then just went and did everything else in the world and then forgot to get back to it. And then I cancelled my Paramount Plus subscription because, Strange New Worlds wasn't working and there was nothing else to watch on it. So when I rewatched it this week, I was just like, oh God, it's this again. And I found myself kind of skipping ahead. And that's really annoying considering for the Nerdy Up North podcast, when I was on talking about Studio Ghibli's Spirited Away, I happily watched that 2 times in 2 days. And I could just do it. Whereas this one, I was like, it's actually a struggle. It's actually a struggle watching this movie for a second time. And it doesn't... I'm glad we're doing this in order, okay? Yeah. I'm glad that we start our movie reviews doing them in order, because I can't conceivably think of a time when I would have gone, yes, let's do the motion picture, you know?
It's also beneficial because it allows me time to purchase the Monster Maroon uniform, which is on order. It's actually the Monster Maroon bomber jacket, because trying to purchase a movie era Monster Maroon uniform is absolutely impossible unless you
I
want to spend
remember
£800.
we've talked about this with Sean Ferrick.
Yeah.
We've talked about it with Mark Cartier. They
Yeah.
are just gold dust. It's the idea of just, wow, they do not appear.
I searched high and low, and I get all of my uniforms from this reputable place, and they are brilliant. They fit perfectly. Nowhere does the Monster Maroon, primarily because they can't get the colour right. They can't get the actual shade of maroon. So I found the bomber jacket from Star Trek V, which apparently is the correct colour.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to go, fuck it. I'm just going to wear that for the other 5 movies. So I've ordered that. I've ordered the period correct con badge as well. So that'll become, so when we come to Wrath of Khan, I will hopefully look the part and not just a baggy Next Generation. But
I'm going to wear a black velvet shirt and some fucking eyeliner. So
velvet,
at least one
if
of us
you
is making an effort,
please.
really. You know?
Wow, okay, that's fine. I'm just high. Leave me alone. Yeah, 1979. This came out, and this was Paramount's answer to Star Wars: A New Hope. This is Paramount's knee-jerk reaction to shit. Sci-fi is actually doing really well, and we need to capitalize on that. What do we have? To which they found Star Trek and contacted Gene Roddenberry.
I mean, if this is the answer, if this is classed as their answer to other sci-fi, it's the equivalent of, I know I am, and what? No, I know you are. So what am I? Like, you know, it's that shit of like a response to a trend.
There's going to be negativity in this review, but there will also,
if you haven't guessed already,
there will also be positivity, because very much like Star Trek Discovery, without this film, this one right here, we would not have any Star Trek at all from 1979 onwards. The story was a rejected original series script. And it took way longer than it should have getting the plot moving. And there are some extremely surreal bits. I don't know if it's just in the director's edition or if it was in the theatrical. Like, when the movie starts, there is an overture for about 3 minutes.
Yeah, I wondered that, and I was just like, is the score too big for the film?
Yeah.
Like, have they made the score too big? You know?
So it opens up to a starfield, and you think, right, the movie's going to get going, and it's just 3 minutes of the... I mean, it's a beautiful composition by Jerry Goldsmith. I am not denying that. But it's three or 5 minutes, and then it just ends. And then the film begins. I'm sat there going, yeah, this is good. This is good. The movie's good. It's crisp. I mean, because I've got the 4K UHD. I was like, it's crystal clear. And then it ended, and I'm like, what? And then I saw Paramount or Gulf Western come, and I was like, that wasn't the start of the movie. Okay.
Yeah.
Why was this? Do you know what I mean? It just, if you're coming into it, it would make no sense.
How I feel about this whole movie, okay? This movie is way too long for what it is.
Extremely.
Like, this does feel very much like a single episode stretched out to about 2 hours longer than it actually should be.
Correct.
And that's what's really difficult. But you wonder, like, I kind of had to take a step back because I didn't enjoy it, but I have to take a step back and wonder if it's like, you know how nowadays where the kids have their TikToks, their talk ticks, and their sort of
them bloody what they're called, Insta shorty
Instagrams and
yes.
that. But it's this idea where we kind of joke that, like, wow, okay, so they only have an attention span to like watch like a 20-second video, and that's all they can manage, kind of thing. Like, they can't watch something that's like a sort of, you know, a 5-minute Monty Python sketch or whatever, like we were used to. And it kind of, I had to view it in that kind of way and go, wow, am I just too used to a sort of faster pace of sci-fi, or like what we got in the next gen onwards and stuff, and that I can't appreciate a film as paced and as sort of like, hey, look at the beautiful visuals kind of thing. Like it's very 2001 A Space Odyssey, like that kind of, hey,
Extremely.
we're stretching it out, we're
Yeah.
making all these beautiful things. And obviously I'm just like, get to the plot, do things, like, and I wonder if maybe that's just me being too used to modern stuff where there is a much faster pacing than there was in this. But then even when I watch the original series, the pacing is better than it is in this film,
This is
which is the problem.
this is a case of, because by this point, by 79, we had the original series, we had the animated series, there was, and there is, film of Star Trek Phase 2, which was the abandoned series, which became the motion picture. This was in demand by the fans so much since the show was cancelled. Everyone was just happy to have the band back together to go out on an adventure. They didn't care what adventure it was. They were just happy that the crew was there, the Enterprise was there, and they were back out exploring. This was a major success for Paramount Pictures despite being critically panned. And the benefit of this film, and we'll get into why we don't like it.
I think the joy of the internet is that they didn't have it then.
Yeah.
So it's obviously the idea of everyone going, "Oh, that was shit," but they couldn't tell other people they're doing shit.
That was the benefit. That was the benefit of this, because you can't go by word of mouth. People had to watch it, and because of that financial success, we then got the Wrath of Khan, which was and still is people's most favorite Star Trek movie of all time. And I very much look forward to reviewing that next month. This one was sort of, if you see the original 6 movies as a TV series, this was the pilot episode where they got everything out, and then from then on in, they ironed out all the kinks. But it was extremely padded. Because, like you said, and like I've said, this is what this was, a rejected original series script. They needed to fill it out into a 2-hour motion picture. All we got in this, and I think 90% of this movie, is external ship shots and very, very long pan shots of Vija and everything like. I described it to you earlier on as sort of a rock opera without the rock.
Well, I've got so much to say about this, and I'm not sure how much I should say at a time. Like, rather than just
shall
going
we
off on one.
explain the premise of the movie? So the movie starts, there is an unknown entity of massive size and power heading towards Earth. They are first intercepted by the Klingons, where we see the Klingons how we see them now in modern day Trek, with the ridges and the darkened armor. I
was going to ask, is this because the first time we see these birds of prey? No, these birds of prey, and it's like, yeah, they're the first time we see the Klingons as we're used to them, with the ridges and looking amazing.
Right there, yeah.
Is this the first time we hear them speak Klingon?
That's
I
correct.
can't remember if they speak. They don't speak it in the original series from anything I've seen.
The ships, they're essentially the same ones as the D7 in the original series. They've got what they've called like griblets and little bits tacked on to the hull to make it look more detailed. They're now called the Katinga. But the Klingons, this is the first time we hear them speak Klingon. This is just before the Klingon language was actually like invented and formed. The way they look, this is the first time. It was a bold move because, let's be honest, the Klingons were smooth-skinned, very un-PC, darkly tanned characters. This was like, okay, we've got a budget now. Let's actually make them alien. So they gave them the ridges, the teeth, the armaments. And like we see in that screenshot there, that's how most people identify a Klingon now from the motion picture. They are intercepting this massive entity. They are, Klingons being Klingons, they just fire torpedoes at it, which just get absorbed, and they themselves get absorbed by this mysterious creature.
But they don't get absorbed. It's like a bolt comes out of it and then hits them, and then they're just gone. Like it just evaporates them, basically.
Yeah, they get like, I'm saying absorbed, but it's almost like, it's like vaporization. off
Yeah.
from what looks like to be vaporization. Starfleet have monitored this. They plotted that it's on a trajectory to Earth, and it's going to be at Earth in 3 days. And then we smash cut straight to Earth, which is the first time we see Earth in Star Trek, to a chief of operations, Admiral James T. Kirk.
Who's he again? What's he done?
He's the one with the wig. So we're in San Francisco. This is a lot of the motion picture had a lot of firsts for Star Trek. We had the Klingons, how we see them now. We had San Francisco as Starfleet headquarters. We had shots of Earth.
We're missing the main theme,
which is
from the Next Generation. You know, the main theme of this movie,
don't care.
which is just... how amazing is that though? Like that was my problem with the beginning of this movie. Like the overture kind of, it gets you because you're like, why is this here? And then it has one of the greatest cinema crimes that sadly most of the Star Trek movies do, which is a flat credits at the beginning. You know, like there's nothing going on, there's no plot or exposition or anything happening. It's just literally just a flat thing with the names appearing. You know, and you're like, you could have told the whole story of like loads of stuff as like a montage during this sequence, but instead they just drag it out as long as possible. But we do get to hear this amazing theme that they obviously loved so much, they were like, no, we're keeping that. We're going to use that again, and we're going to make that like the music for Next Generation.
It carried on. The theme, though, as weird as it is that it became such a lasting legacy for Star Trek, the theme was barely used in most of the movies. The Wrath of Khan had a different score. Search for Spock had a different score.
Yeah. I mean, it milks the hell out of it in this one.
Yeah.
This one has it about like, I counted like 4 variations of this theme throughout the movie, but it keeps repeating it.
We don't hear this theme again, though, until Star Trek V.
Is that before or after Next Gen, though? I can't remember.
That's after Next Gen. That's 89.
Yeah. So that's it. So the next time we hear this theme in like the motion picture, and then the next time we hear it is as the main theme of the Next Generation, and you're like, oh wow, okay, so they obviously just dug it up and went, we're using this one. You know?
There's a lot of firsts in this movie. We see Spock undertaking the Vulcan ritual of Kolinar, which is to purge all human emotions. He stops short of achieving Kolinar because he senses a consciousness coming and calling from him from outer space. So he cannot continue and complete Kolinar. He must go find his destiny elsewhere. He must chase his consciousness. Kirk at San Francisco, speaking to his new science officer, saying that, you know, in 3 days there's something heading for Earth. I'm going to speak to Admiral Nagoya. I think it's Nagoya, he says.
I think so.
And then the next time we see him, he's on the space station speaking to Scotty. And then we get... Now, there's going to be a lot of division from this scene because, for me, this is a beautifully choreographed scene. And Synoiz is probably going to go, this went on way too long. This is the reveal shot of the brand new refitted Enterprise. This one here, which I have lovingly polished up and lit behind me. This design, and I have met the person who redesigned the Enterprise, who painted it, who detailed it in 2012, and he is, if you look up the word passionate, he will be right next to it in the dictionary.
Is it next to fanatical in the dictionary?
Almost fanatical, yeah. Let me just get his
fine
name.
Line, I think.
Let me just get his name, because the name eludes me. There we go. So it was Andrew Probert and Richard Taylor. Now,
I've heard of Andrew Probert, I'm sure of it.
Probert did the Enterprise D.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah. So this is widely regarded as the greatest Star Trek ship of all time, the greatest, best-looking Star Trek ship of all time. And if this movie fails on anything, it's not this, because they took their time to reveal this beautiful, highly detailed model of the Enterprise in this scene, and It's quite evocative for many fans to see this ship. A lot of fans grew up in the 70s and 80s with this in the movie, so they consider this to be the best looking starship. I love it. I love every single second of it. Did it go on too long? Yes. Do I care? No. But this just shows the issues of pacing with the movie, because they do this a lot for a lot of unnecessary things. They did it for the little space station scene. They did it for the reveal. They did it for the ship moving out. They did it for Vija. It's a lot of padding that's not necessary.
This is a 40-minute film. This is a 40-minute film just stretched out. Like, you know, obviously we're going to talk about the plot more, but there comes a point, okay, where you could start this film probably about an hour and 10 in. You know, you could probably, like, there's a whole thing. Oh, well, actually, wait, carry on, and then I'll make this point later. Okay?
I absolutely agree, because we see Kirk get onto the Enterprise with Scotty, who is now mustachioed. One of the most horrifying parts...
This is the first time that Scotty's plump, isn't he?
Yes.
That's the crazy thing, because obviously, like, I watched Next Gen first, so I remember Scotty from appearing in, is it Relics? Relics in Next Generation, and being like, oh, it's, you know, chunky Scotty, and then watching the movies with him in and being like, oh yeah, that's how he is. And then you watch the original series and you're like, oh, he wasn't always like, you know, like sort of, you know, cuddly bear man. It's, you know, it's so it's kind of weird seeing it here, being like, that must have been people being like, oh, he's changed a little bit.
It's
you know?
Canonically, what happened was they had a 5-year mission, which was the original series. They then did another 5-year mission, and then the Enterprise went in for nearly 2 years to be completely refit. So this is, in this movie, this is the Enterprise from the original series that's essentially just been modified, refit, and looks completely different. It also has a new captain, Will Decker, who many have theorized throughout the decades is the son of Matt Decker from the original series episode The Doomsday Machine, who sacrificed himself to save others when he flew his shuttlecraft in.
Spoilers, possibly a family trait.
But it is 57 years old, so... So many speculated that. Now, he's the captain of the Enterprise, but Kirk, being a bit of a dick, has used a threatening situation to essentially commandeer the Enterprise again to fulfill this mission, because the Enterprise is the only ship in range that is capable of meeting them before it reaches Earth.
Now this confuses me. Two things confuse me. Is A, do we really get into how bored Kirk is? Like, because I don't remember a scene where it has Kirk showing how frustrated he is to not be on the Enterprise. So we learn over the film that that's his motivation for doing this and going, hey, oh, there's a problem. Well, I'll just commandeer the Enterprise and then I'll sort it out, kind of thing. Yay, I've got my old ship back. But it doesn't really go into his, you know, ennui or anything, like from being in, because does he become an admiral? Is that why he's
so after the second 5-year mission, he's promoted to an admiral and chief of Starfleet operations. He is bored. What's frustrating is we actually get more of the ennui in Star Trek 2 than we do in Star Trek 1, where it was more needed, where for 2.5 years Kirk has been an admiral. He's been a desk jockey. He's bored. He wants to get out there and explore. He wants a ship. He wants to get out there. He's used this opportunity to seize the Enterprise, commandeer, shall we say, from Decker, to go investigate this craft, this massive behemoth heading towards Earth. I love the fact that Will Decker, who is a captain, pulls Kirk up on his bullshit.
Yeah.
Because Kirk goes down to engineering, says to Will, they've given me the Enterprise, you're staying on board, and you'll be demoted.
My science officer.
But you will be demoted. So essentially he's going, you've lost your ship, you've lost your rank, and you're staying on because you know more than me about this ship. Because like Decker said, this is a completely new Enterprise. You don't know its systems, you don't know where anything is. This is my ship, not yours. But Decker just quite rightly pulls him up on his bullshit and says, "You said to me when you recommended this how envious you were and how you will do anything to get your, to get a command. Well, it looks like you succeeded."
And I think this is the problem with this, where it's the fact of we've already just had the last episode we did before Bar Association was where we saw Kirk being very unprofessional and Kirk sort of jeopardizing a mission because of his own personal desires. And yet we're seeing it again here. And it's this character trait of Kirk that I think I was going to say it hasn't aged well, but I'm pretty sure that even at the time you would have been like, nah, what a dick move, like, because it affects the film. Like later on, we have a scene where basically Kirk's lack of knowledge about the refit of the Enterprise and the fact that he's just taken this new ship over, he's just gone, cool, this is mine, I'll operate this. No, I'm not going to read the instruction manual, and no, I'm not going to actually read any reports about what we've actually done with it. Just go, and that puts them all in mortal danger later. And you're just going like, this is not a good look for, I get the impression that it's like where you promote someone out of harm's way, where you just go, okay, if we just put you up here, you can't fuck things up anymore, which is a bit of an insult, really, to to fans who like Kirk, I guess.
One of the most, though, horrifying scenes in the movie is the transporter room accident.
Yeah.
Which I feel, because up until this point in Star Trek, transporters have just been, it's a way to get down to the planet or beam from A to B. These are completely safe. Everyone does it. This movie was like, those things that you saw in the 60s, and they can like really fuck a person up when they go wrong. And the beaming, they're trying to beam aboard these two crew.
Like one of them's a science officer, and that's how Will Decker gets made the science officer. But
there's a power surge, I believe, and the power surge happens as they are beaming someone up from Earth, and we get this scene where Ensign Rand is trying to beam them aboard, and you see their bodies twisting and writhing and changing shape as the molecular structure is breaking down. And then you get, to this day, one of the most disturbing parts in any Star Trek movie, a horrifying scream of agony from one of these people that they're trying to transport. They fail to beam them aboard, and then Kirk goes to Starfleet Command, did you get them? And that line will stick with me, and they go, Starfleet Command, what we got back did not live long, fortunately.
Yeah.
That is fucking terrifying. And I can understand McCoy's skepticism of the transporter.
This is the thing. It's like we see in Enterprise and like we see in Strange New Worlds, where people are like going, these things are a bit, let's avoid
Barclay.
them when we need to,
Yeah, Barclay, for instance, is the same. But then a few scenes later, when they're about to get underway, the CMO's trying to come on board, and he's refusing to get onto the transport pad. And I'd be like, yeah, because they've just mopped away 2 piles of goo, and then they've just gone, go up. And then no.
Wait, why is this though? Is this because of the refit, there's a problem with the transporters? Like, it wouldn't normally happen, but it's the idea of, because they're wheeling this thing out before it's ready in order to go and like look into this anomaly. Like, that's why they mess up. Like, it's not a standard thing.
The ship has gone under a refit for 18 months. It is not ready. Nothing on the ship has been tested. So what would normally happen if there was no this happens in real life, they will refit something, construct something, refit it, modify it, and then you take it on a shakedown. So basically in cruise liners and everything like that, they will many cruise ships will go under a refit after like 10 years. So they'll put in new engines or some new technology. Before it's put out to sea, they do maneuvers. They make sure that the equipment's working. They test the limits of it and everything like that. For this, they don't have the time. So they're going, right, this is the only ship we have literally got in range. It's not ready. Make it ready. So then they're all rushing, and that's when things go wrong. So that's why we see a scene later on with the engines, things go wrong. I absolutely agree with McCoy that I will not be stepping on the transporter pad that's just been mopped off full of human goo and Vulcan goo, right? Give me a shuttle. I understand his skepticism of the transporter, and when they beam him aboard, I love movie era McCoy because he just does not give a fuck about Starfleet, about anyone. He is the quintessential Southern Doctor with no bedside manner.
The whole point is that McCoy is here against his will.
Yes.
McCoy doesn't want to be here. They've just gone, hey, we can conscript you because of, this thing you signed ages ago, so come back. And he just doesn't want to be there. Like, he genuinely get to see Kirk again. That was nice. Time to go, but he's still stuck
It's
here.
actually a real thing in the military. It's a recall activation clause.
Yeah.
Where you can muster out of the service, but at any point, if there's any extraordinary emergency or situation, they can bring you back.
Which makes you wonder, is it Kirk who's done this? Is it Kirk selfishly being like, hey, I want my old team back to come out of retirement? And that's another strike against Kirk just wanting to relive the glory days. But what annoys me about the movie, though, is that it doesn't go into these things.
No.
Like, these are the movie is boring because not enough happens for what the movie, like how long it is. But there's so many opportunities for stuff to happen. Like, we have the transporter accident. We have a thing later on where they go, oh, actually, the ship works slightly differently because of this. But then it just forgets it. It literally doesn't go anywhere with the whole, hey, the ship is still technically untested and stuff. It just has some problems at the beginning, and then it has no consequences later. And then, like, with this one, where it's like, hey, Kirk's got this ambition. Oh, but we forget about it later. And it just feels really like these are all threads that could have been throughout the whole film, rather than just, I don't know, it feels like they felt they needed to put some punchy scenes in. So they were like, let's have this horror moment where someone dies on a transporter. Oh my God, how shocking. Let's have a bit where they go into a wormhole. Oh my God, it's so exciting and so shocking. And then, but they're not tying it into the actual narrative. They're just going, these things happen. Like, the way I would describe this, okay, is, when you go to Disneyland and there's the ride, like there's the Star Wars ride, or, something where basically, you sit in the seat and then it moves around and it has like a video screen where it's like, look, you're in the Star Wars universe and stuff. That's what this film feels like. It feels like we're on a walking simulator going through some things. It's like, oh no, the Klingons are attacking. Oh, well, we got away. Moving on to this. That's how it feels. And it's the most shallow way to make a movie, I think.
We know why Paramount did it, because they wanted to cash in on the popularity of Star Wars. So they wanted their old Star Wars. But the people behind Star Trek did not want to make Star Wars. They wanted to make Star Trek. And Star Trek has not always... It's never been about pew, 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 space action. It's always been about the story, the characters. Yeah. But this fails because, like we say, it is a rejected 40-minute script. So it is just padded out with lovely exterior shots of space, of the ships, and then these minor scenarios that are never explained and never got into in any other part of the movie. The transporter accident...
You could have had that being relevant later when they get V'Ger and stuff. You could have stuff like that, like they managed to solve a problem by using the transporter fault, stuff like that, where they're going, oh, how do they, say they're getting attacked or something, or V'Ger starts off with sort of a more like dangerous kind of operative or something, rather than like what we get, and the way they stop it is they teleport it because they know the teleporter will fuck it up. You could do this in the narrative, but then it just doesn't. It just goes, oh well, that happened.
How bad was Starfleet in this era, where literally their only ship is one in a dry dock that's not even ready to be shaken down yet?
That's what I was going to say. It's like, you have no ships within 3 days of Earth. Like, what?
That is... The Borg invaded at the wrong time. That's what I'm going to say. The Borg invaded at the wrong time.
But also later on, we just go, oh, except Spock, who has a shuttlecraft that it can apparently catch up with Warp 7. Is that what we're saying?
Well, before
We just have that halfway through, and it's like, okay, never mind.
Before we get that, we have another 30 minutes exterior shot of the Enterprise leaving space dock. Again, loved it, absolutely loved it, but went on way too long. They fly past Jupiter. They then risk, which is never ever again mentioned in Star Trek. They risk going to warp in the solar system, and I'm like, everyone does that. But they go to warp on these untested engines. Scotty and Decker all say to Kirk, we need to run more simulations. These engines have never been tested. Kirk is going, I want it now.
Yeah.
They go to warp, and then they get dragged into a wormhole with an asteroid that they need to sort out. Otherwise, they're going to collide with the asteroid. This is, again, the director's edition. This one here changed this scene so it flowed much better, but it still went on way too long, was too surreal, and just disjointed the pacing of the movie again.
You know what it felt like? This scene, when like 3D movies were a big thing. Avatar came out, and then everything was in 3D.
Yeah.
And you got all these movies that had convoluted scenes just to show off the 3D.
Yeah.
Like, I remember in the second Silent Hill movie, there's just this random monster in it, and it goes up to the camera and like shakes around and stuff, purely so that it would look good in the 3D version.
Yeah.
That's what this scene feels like. This scene feels like, hey, we just have this, there's a wormhole, and therefore we can have this exciting special effects scene where it's like, oh, look, there's loads of danger and loads of special effects. And you're sitting there being like, yeah, how great. Like the fact that does it make sense? Like, so they get trapped into a wormhole, and there's an asteroid in the wormhole, and by shooting the asteroid they stop the wormhole, but then it doesn't seem to have taken them anywhere. Like, they're still on course even though they've been in a wormhole for like a minute.
It makes no sense, because the wormhole was created by an engine imbalance. So a wormhole was created by an engine imbalance, which also sucked in an asteroid, but by destroying the asteroid, they break out of the wormhole and exit out of warp. Now, any Trekkie would turn around and go, shut off the warp engine. Just you're on mute, by the way, Synoiz.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
All it is just because I'm pouring another drink.
Oh, yeah.
I'm needing it to get through this. But
it makes those it's movie magic, as we'll call it. But it makes no sense.
So annoying. This is the difference. This is what upsets me. The fact of Trek is a lot of fancy science bollocks 90% of the time. But it does it in a convincing way. It manages to weave this narrative where you're like, oh, that sounds kind of plausible. And they have experts who are kind of like, oh, well, technically that could kind of work. Like, you still get...
Do you want to know who the expert was on this film?
I know. I wrote it down because it appeared at the end, and I was like, Isaac Asimov. Fucking hell.
Of all people, Isaac Asimov was a scientific consultant.
I'm actually going to criticize that because I'm a big fan of Asimov. Like, he's an absolute genius. I love his work. But after watching the film and then seeing that in the credits, I was like, that makes a lot of sense, because that's what it feels like. It feels like an Asimov short story that they've stuck Star Trek characters in.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't feel like the same universe that we're used to. And that's why everything doesn't seem like warp, like space travel doesn't seem to work the same as it does normally in Trek, and everything. Even though we're saying it was an original series story, I walked away from it feeling like they just got an Asimov story and went, hey, let's put Kirk and Spock and McCoy in it and stuff. And that's what, because it doesn't even use a lot of the characters. Like, Uhura's there. Does she do anything? Like, like Chapel's there. She has like 3 lines in the whole thing, and it just goes like, what's the point of bringing these characters in and doing nothing with them?
Do you know what Sulu does? Just that.
Yeah.
Just that. That's it. That's all he does.
He gets to act shocked later, I think.
I see this as the bridge between classic Star Trek and what we got from the Wrath of Khan onwards. It was the bridge that took us from the loosey-goosey science fiction of the 60s to what was then, what would then become established as actual Trek from 82 onwards. The arrival of Spock where we have this shuttle that apparently has to depart, like separate from its body and do a pirouette to dock. And I'm just like, again, it's a padding scene. It's pretty.
How has
but it's
he
a
got
padding
there
scene.
as well? I know that him docking is just very stretched out to pad the movie because it looks wonderful. Yeah, you've got special effects, that's great, but it just and the whole thing, like, it's really the whole Spock plot line as well just bothers me because
Makes no
basically
sense.
when we meet him, is he on Vulcan?
Yes.
Yeah, he's on Vulcan. He's trying to achieve perfect sort of like logic, where basically he loses all emotion and he totally suppresses everything. So he's a being of pure logic. And then they are about to present him with the award because they've basically gone, "Hey, yeah, it looks like you've done it. Well done. We can't send any logic from you, any sort of emotion from you."
Yeah.
And then he stops them. He says, "Hey, don't crown me. Like, don't give me the sort of the pendant, thing yet. Whatever it is, I've forgotten. It looks like it's been on Etsy. They've just gone on Etsy and gone, oh, that'll look nice. We'll get him that once he's
Someone
graduated."
called Trisha from Durham.
Trisha from Durham,
Trisha from Durham, who has got her own Trisha's
you want a
treats.
gift wrapped?
Trisha's treats, handmade jewelry, and sweet pizzas.
Oh, look, I've got some Totoro earrings you can buy.
She's discovered what's it called? Is it PVC plastic?
Yeah.
ABS plastic. And she's like, I can do molds, and this is what this
I don't know if
looked
it was.
like.
I don't know if it was Trisha or the Vulcan standing next to her just had to do it in DT class at school. Where you make something for your mum and you're just like, oh, cut up some bits of acrylic and put them on string for your mum.
You've just unlocked a memory of mine because when I was in year 8, oh my God, when I was in year 8,
How many died, Goodwill?
I made my mother 2 things. I made her a mirror, which we had for about 20 years.
Yeah.
And I made a mobile phone stand, both out of bright orange acrylic plastic.
Which I'm betting went with everything in the house.
Oh God, it didn't.
It just, unless your house was like untouched since the time of this movie, Goodwill, that would not have fit in with anything.
Well, there was a time. It was the 90s, Synoiz, This is what I love about rose-tinted glasses. They're like, oh, everyone's houses in the 90s were all brightly coloured. And I'm like, no, because everyone's houses in the 90s were houses from the 70s because they hadn't been redecorated.
Everyone's houses in the 90s was like the morning after, like the hungover version of having the 70s where we're like, should we just paint everything white?
It was
just
wood
paint
panelling.
Just get rid of the wallpaper.
It was wood panelling, mahogany, shag pile in certain places, and
if you're lucky,
those sofas that look like they were ripped straight from a bus from the 1980s. Do you remember, like the orange, like patterned?
I do.
Yeah. And just the ever-present cigarette smoke. Even though no one smoked, there was just that ever-present whiff.
I remember
that was the 90s.
My grandma's house, we had all of those, like the ashtrays that we found out later were actually radioactive because she had them. Those like glass, like those glass ashtrays where they sort of like were transparent, brightly colored, and then obviously I saw something later where it's like these are actually radioactive, and we're like, okay, that's fun, but that's the pendant, okay, they're gonna give to Spock, and then he stops them putting it on, and then he chucks it to the ground, and they're like, I don't like this, it's shit.
He should have kept his
She's like, oh, there's no refunds. Oh, the postage was more than this.
4 stars.
Yeah, 4 stars.
Didn't break when it hit the ground.
But basically he just goes, hey, actually, no, I'm not feeling it. I'm not actually, there's something disturbing me. There's emotions in me that I can't get rid of. And I'm being contacted by some presence outside of, our universe, I think. And I don't know what it is. I have to go to it. And then they're like, oh, well, your answers don't lie here. Fuck off. And so he goes off to find himself. We just had it on the screen down there, the scene where he's going, oh, what is it? And yeah, it's a weird one though, because I don't get this. How is Spock receiving a psychic transmission from so far away?
And how can he be the only one?
Yeah, like surely is it all Vulcans? Is it just him? why is Vija contacting him? Like, none of it makes any sense. Like, this is what annoys me. All these things that only happen to make the plot happen. Where we're like, how do we get Spock into this? Oh, Vija was talking to him, so he went towards it. Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. And you're like, but it doesn't explain it. Like, it doesn't have Vija go, oh yeah, I reached out to you because I thought you were linked to the creator or something like that. It doesn't do anything. It just literally just goes, yeah, he was the only one listening apparently out of an entire universe of Vulcans.
It's annoying because it's like there were better ways to bring Spock in.
Yeah, this is the whole problem. Everything I'm complaining about would have worked if done in a different way.
Yeah, like... they could have said, "Oh, there was a signal emanating from this entity that only one man can decipher because he's an expert in this." You know, they could have brought him into that. This one, the only reason
politics in, you could have had the Vulcans going, "That's a human matter. We're not going to get involved."
Yeah,
and Spock being like, well, I'm still human, so fuck this whole trying to be Vulcan and logic thing. I'm going to go off and see what it is, you know, and I'm going to like help Kirk and whatnot. You know, they could have done stuff like that. The difference between him being him being a half caste and being like whether he takes his human side or his Vulcan side and making it into a kind of moral decision. And the problem is it kind of has that in the film, but it never poses it like that. It just kind of has him being like, oh, I guess some emotions are cool. The end. You know.
But then he just comes aboard and he's just like, oh, I know how to fix your engines. And it's just like, well, hang on. You yourself have been on Vulcan purging all... Yeah, you've been on Vulcan purging all human emotions. You don't know anything about the ship, and yet you know how to perfectly balance the engins.
I'm like, oh, well, it's nowhere. Spock. He must know how to do everything. And you're just going, that's a... You know, like, it's very odd because Decker goes from saying to Kirk, hey, you need me because I'm the only one who is trained in this, to suddenly instantly trusting everything Spock does because he's Spock. And it's a bit like, yes, I know Spock is very famous and he's like a genius and stuff, but it's a bit of a shift for the character to be sort of like, hey, I'm overly protective, to only in some circumstances.
But then, you know, again, it's Decker being cuckolded.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you are demoted to commander. Okay. You are now a science officer. Okay. Now you are no longer a science officer. Okay.
Because we've got someone better in. It's like, fuck you, Decker.
What can I do? Well, you can go paint that wall over there. And it's just all the way through. I mean, we see Alia, who's a Deltan, come aboard, which is Persis Combator. A Deltan who has no hair.
Yeah. When have we seen Deltans before?
Never.
I don't remember them at all.
Time.
Okay, I was literally like, I've never even heard of this race because you know when we were talking about Strange New World? No, what was it? Strange New World? No, it's Picard. And I was talking about how cool it is to get a bald Vulcan, and we were talking about this, and we referenced the
ironically on Picard they were on Delta 4.
Oh, really?
Which is where Ilia is from. So that's a good.
But it is that weird thing though, where it's like we referenced it there, and it's like I'm just annoyed because once again we get another new race that it just doesn't do anything with, and he just goes, "Oh, she's got healing powers." Don't really care about them.
Apparently, the Deltans the Deltans are highly sexual, and they've got mysterious powers such as healing, and they don't have any hair. And Decker apparently had a thing with Ilia. That again, this is copy and pasted into the Next Generation with Riker and Troy. Because Decker was posted on Delta 4, they had a thing, and then he mustered out to somewhere else, same with Riker and Troy. And I'm like, okay, I can see where this relationship was pasted from. But she is essentially just another plot device. They needed a bit of Totty, 70s Totty, to take the bait, and, that's the red shirt.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to speed through the rest of the plot of this movie, okay? So then we can basically talk about the different bits of it, because I feel like we're jumping ahead because I keep taking us on tangents. But basically,
but we're not jumping ahead because literally when this is like an hour into the movie actually starts.
Well, yeah, that's it. It literally, so they're on the ship, they're traveling towards this entity that's 3 days away or whatever, that's heading towards Earth, and it's destroyed Klingons and other ships, so try to contact it. They go into this wormhole, and then they find out a flaw where basically Decker supersedes the captain and says, "Hey, don't fire the phasers at the asteroid. Use the photon torpedoes." And Kirk just goes, "What? How are you telling me what to do?" And then, but trusts him. They fire their photon torpedoes, blow up the asteroid, get out of the wormhole. Then Kirk gets shirty, calls him to his ready room and says, like, "Hey, what do you think talking to me like that in front of everyone and making me look like a fool?" And Decker's like, yeah, but if you'd read the specs for the ship, you'd realize that you can't use the phasers when the engines are fucking up because they're tied into the engines.
Yeah.
So the only weapons we had available were the photon torpedoes. And Kirk's like, "Oh, I guess I do need you for advice." And it's like, "Yes, you fool."
But I had a question about this though, that little scene. Chekhov is there. Chekhov is in weapons control. Why didn't Chekhov comment? Because Chekhov would know.
I think it's simply the idea of he would never question the captain. I think it's this idea of I assume he assumes Kirk knows what he's doing.
Yeah, but it's a shitty.
But I think it's bad writing.
Yeah.
But the way I justified it in my head is basically like they all just go, "Well, Kirk must know best. He obviously read the instructions, right?"
And he literally hasn't, because we see in that scene where he's with McCoy. I mean, McCoy's calling him out on his bullshit.
Yeah. Well, McCoy's just being a bitch. McCoy is literally just like Sharon from The Office in the corner, just being like, "Oh, really? How interesting."
McCoy is the best thing in this film because he does not give a shit. He does not want to be there. He's been dragged in there by Kirk because even Kirk says at the beginning, "Damn it, Bones, I need you." McCoy doesn't want to be there, and he can just clearly see what Kirk has tried to do and what Kirk wants. So he's pulling him up on the bullshit. Like where he says, is everyone okay? Frightened, as in out of wits.
Wait, this is what annoys me, is that this movie kind of spoils McCoy for me, because the big problem with the movie is it's such a departure from the series, and bits of it try to be like the series and fail because of the conventions of a movie. For instance, McCoy makes these cool little jokes, like these little quips, like there, where he's basically, where he's going, "Were there any casualties?" And Chekhov's like, no casualties reported. And he's like, "Yes, there's one casualty, my wits." And I think it's a great line.
Yeah.
But it falls fucking flat because normally it would have the music going with it. The music would change to be like a sort of jokey kind of thing or something, and then it would pace it that way, and the other characters would react in this way. This is a vacuum. There is no music in this scene whatsoever. So it's literally him just saying that and nobody around him reacting to it. And it just, all of his gags are like this in the movie. Like he makes jokes with Spock and it just doesn't work. And it's so annoying because he just like, that McCoy is a funny character, but then in this movie, it's like, no, it's a serious movie. So we're going to have these jokes, but it annoys me.
They could have played it as either comical or serious, where the crew just look and go, "Yeah, actually, what Kirk has done has put us all at risk."
But you know what I mean about the music, though. Where, it would go into like little funny sort of like happy kind of
something like that.
It would go into these little funny things and stuff, and then and that would be the punchline to the joke. That would be the now laugh or sort of like laughter track kind of thing that goes, "Hey, actually, that was levity." But then in this, it just doesn't have it. So it just sounds like he's delivering it in that way. Like he's not delivering it in an angry way, like "my wits." He's doing it as a kind of, anyway. But I think then we get, what's her name?
Ilea.
Ilea comes on the ship, and then it basically goes, "Oh, look, you and..." It's like from Garth Marenghi, where it's like, "You and Ilea were buddies," right? You know, it's where Decker and her had a thing, but they're trying to keep it under wraps, and they don't really want to explore it, but there's still like something there. But I think the problem with Ilea, okay, is that as soon as I looked at her, I started thinking about Cynthia from Rugrats. You know the doll from Rugrats, like Angelica's doll with the little pointy bits of hair. And as soon as I saw that, I just couldn't not see it for the entire film.
So, skipping ahead though.
Yeah, sorry.
They get to Vija. They get to the cloud.
Well, no. Then they are going there, and then Spock appears. So basically, they just go, "Oh,
we've done the Spock."
Oh yeah, there's big things. Spock
Yeah.
appears. He goes in there. Uhura gets to gasp, which is the most she gets to do in the film, I believe. And then they're trying to clue Spock in and say, "Hey, what are we doing? Tell us information." And there's a very uncomfortable scene between Spock, McCoy, and Kirk, where Spock is totally different. He is emotionless. He has been working very hard to get rid of his emotions. He won't acknowledge anyone. He's not saying hi to Uhura or Chekhov or anything. And it is, and it's a wonderful thing, but then it doesn't really work as a scene, I don't think. But basically, it's them getting very angry, them talking about what the problem could be, and then blah blah blah, other shit happens. This is the point where I fell asleep. So basically, I fell asleep at the point where they're trying to get Spock to sit down. So Kirk yells at him and tells him to sit down. That's the last thing I remember.
Sit down.
Yeah. Then I woke up 20 minutes later and was like, oh shit, and it was in the middle of the VJ graphics and stuff. So I rewound it back to that scene and watched it and realized that I hadn't actually missed anything because it's literally just 20 minutes of traveling and graphics traveling and random nonsense happening. And yeah, and I was just
it doesn't add to the movie whatsoever. Again, it's padding because me trying to skip ahead here, they get to the onset of the cloud of this entity, and they're doing the scans, and wow, the
basically they have this whole thing where they're going, hey, don't scan it because it could be seen as an attack, and then
don't
they
raise
go,
shields and stuff like that.
Don't act like we're being defensive because they'll see it as an attack. And then basically they're doing stuff, and Spock's like, hey, I think there's something in the middle of the gas cloud, like there's actually something in there. And then over time there's loads of stuff happening. Well, there's not really, but there's things happening on screen. And then Spock goes, hey, I've deciphered what these messages are. The reason why we can't communicate with them is because they're the base message they are sending out, the simplest message they're sending out, is so advanced that our technology can't actually keep up with it.
It's so powerful that it's so powerful, and so it's like 1 millisecond this entire message, and it's so powerful we have to
slows it down. So that they actually go, oh, now we can actually understand it. So basically he goes, okay, cool, I'll prepare a thing that allows us to communicate with them by doing all of this crazy stuff to it. And then basically I think Vijay's got annoyed with them, and then it decides to shoot a beam at them, the same as we saw with the Klingons at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then there's a supposedly dramatic moment where Kirk is yelling at Spock to send the message. Spock sends the message, and then the bolt evaporates just before it hits the Enterprise to go, oh, they received the message and they've gone, oh, okay, you can communicate with us. Because the big annoyance, what Spock translates, is that the aliens are annoyed because they're saying stuff and no one is responding. The Klingons aren't responding, all of the other people aren't, but it's purely because they weren't advanced enough to understand what they were saying. That is about an hour worth of film.
This is literally an hour into the film we get to this scene, and then they've sent the message, the bolt is evaporated, and then they decide to go into this cloud because this is like the size of this entity. It's like 2 astronomical units big, which is huge.
Is that bigger than Lee?
Nothing is bigger than Lee, but this is essentially 2 astronomical units. It's like between the sun and Earth, that is 1 AU. So it's double the distance between the sun and Earth. That's how big this cloud is.
Considering later on in the film, Vijay gets to Earth. How? Like, if it's that big, how does it actually fit?
The cloud dissipates on the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was just kind of going like, what? Is it going to be touching the sun?
In this edition, where they try to clear up the mess, they actually have a scene where they say the cloud, Starfleet confirmed the cloud is dissipating as it approaches Earth. So, again, another very, very long scene where the Enterprise is entering this cloud to get to the center to find out who it is, what it is there, and we get 5 minutes of just the Enterprise heading to the center.
Yeah.
And then they get there, and then we get another 5 minutes where they get to the craft, and the craft is huge, and Kirk goes, let's fly above it at 500 meters. And even Sulu's going, what?
Yeah, like that close to it. Like what?
Oh,
Crazy
and
bastard.
it's not killed us yet. So let's just buzz the tower with our ship and see what it says. And
Yeah.
we get another 5 minutes of the Enterprise going across this ship, and then it goes to 100 kilometers out to the front of the ship, and then you're just like, finally, and they finally get
It's
to
just
that
total
point.
padding.
It's so much padding, so much padding, and then they get to that point, and then the entity, does he drag them in, or does the probe come first? I think it's the
no,
probe.
I don't know what happens, but basically they get attacked. So something happens in the ship, and then Chekhov burns his hand.
That's the probe.
So
yeah.
Something is it the probe?
Yeah.
Something happens, and then he gets his hand burned by his console, and they're like, "Oh, blah blah blah, what happened?" And then Aliyah comes over to him, and then is able to heal his hand. Well, I don't think she heals his hand. She basically takes the pain away.
Yeah.
So she basically makes him forget that he's in pain.
She does a Ray from Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, while Chapel comes over and, like, I don't know, sprays some Gaviscon or something on it. I don't know. It just comes over with a little spray and goes, pss, pss, that'll sort you out.
Here's some compressed air.
So just like, okay, does this feel like salt?
I don't have dust on my hand. No, it's all right.
Don't worry, it's acid. It's like, what?
Hi, Spock. Do you remember our Dallins? Okay, never mind. Moving on.
But that happens, and then I can't remember what happens next, but then they effectively, another probe happens, and there's loads of light around the bridge and all of this lot, and then Aliyah gets hit by it.
Yeah.
So Aliyah gets hit by the light, and then she vanishes. She vanishes, and we see her tricorder just clutter to the seat she was on, and we're like, oh wow, this character that we didn't really care about because she's only been in for like 20 minutes is dead. Oh no, how tragic. And then everyone's a bit shocked by it and stuff, and then I don't even know what happens next, but something happens, and then she comes back.
They are then tracked in to...
I've watched this twice, Goodwill, and it's so tedious that I can't actually remember what happens.
They are then tracked in,
even though I have seen it.
They are brought into the inside of the ship by this mysterious entity, by this mysterious race. They are brought in, and they are actually inside this spaceship. And then there's an intruder alert in officers' quarters. And, where best to have an intruder alert inside someone's sonic shower? Because that's apparently where aliens like to put people. It's in a sonic shower. We see Ilea...
Let's teleport someone to the most enclosed and dangerous space in the entire place,
But then we see it's Ilea, and she explains, she is a representative of Vija here to collect data about the carbon-based life forms infecting the Enterprise. She then comes out of the shower perfectly clothed in heels.
Yeah.
Very 70s, guys. This is 1979. So only in 79 could an alien have a silk robe and natural skin heels.
It is a very strange thing where you're just like, oh, it's an alien race.
There, right there, on the screen.
Women wearing,
on the screen right now,
yeah.
right there, yeah.
They still want women wearing heels, and you're just going, aren't they meant to be advanced? But I have to say though, I do love the design on Ilea. The whole thing looks great with like the bald head and this sort of raised collar thing that raised neckline that goes into a collar, the little jewel. It's great design. Like, I think it's probably my favorite thing about the movie that isn't introducing new Klingons. And the main theme, like, which is gone in the first 5 minutes. But and it's really good, but effectively what they do is they go, hey, how is she back from the dead and whatnot? And then they find out that actually she's a robot. They find out that she's entirely robotic, and that Vija has basically recreated Ilea from what they teleported away, because they didn't destroy her. They basically just decompiled her, I guess, and then sort of rebuilt her as a robot from, the data that they teleported away, which is kind of interesting. But basically they, the whole thing is them communicating with her is them trying to reason with this alien intelligence, like this robot. So they're having to make everything very logical. So they're having to be like, hey, it's part of our custom that you have to do a medical scan. And she's like, oh, that sounds normal. Okay, I will take part
I
in this
will
medical
comply.
scan. Yeah, I will comply. And yeah, and it's an the one thing I will mention that I kind of like, but then grated on me by the end of the movie is that literally she talks like the early sort of like text to speech that you got in 90s video games. You know, like the PC ones where it was literally like, all your base are belong to us. You know, like
It's very it's obviously set through a voice channel.
yeah, it's done through a vocoder or a voice
Yeah.
synthesizer, like, but it sounds great, but she has a lot of dialogue, and it kind of grates after a while,
But
like, you know,
but we
this
learn.
distorted voice.
But this is a race that they have, you know, they have no emotion, so everything is monotone. Everything is, we are here to collect data, we are here to study the carbon-based life form. You know, everyone is a Kirk unit, Spock unit. When we get to the infirmary, and Spock mentions it, Decker walks in and Ilea just says Decker, and Spock goes, interesting, not Decker unit.
Yeah,
Which, you know, they've perfectly recreated Ilea as this probe to every little detail, where there's like little microprocessors and everything like that. But the memory engrams that they've also copied recognizes Decker, that
yeah.
Ilea
So
had a
there,
fondness.
in the middle of this machine, there is some of Ilea still there, like memory wise.
Yeah.
And then the strategy becomes, can we reason with Vija if we can unlock the human emotions and memories that are still in Ilea?
So then
And
they
then,
use Decker to try and unlock that and bond with this probe, and you know
yeah,
they go to the recreational deck, and again it's a tedious scene, but
if these characters had had more to do,
yeah.
it would have worked so much better. That's the annoying thing. If we'd developed these characters more than just Decker being treated like a bitch for like an hour
Yeah.
and loads of long panning shots, it would feel more impactful. But it doesn't feel like we know these. Technically, Ilea has about 4 lines until she's dead. Because technically, this is
In
a
the
different
first hour.
character.
Yeah.
Ilea is gone. Like Ilea, this is a robot that emulates Ilea, but it's not the same character. So it's like, oh wow, so I even have less emotional investment in this than, you know,
It's
even that.
we see that they're trying to study it, and Spock, being Spock, decides to go his own way. Spock wants to make contact with Vija. Well, we don't know the name, but we know it as Vija.
Is this a
Oh
Spock
yeah,
thing to
Vija.
do? Like, it's the whole. This is the thing where literally I blinked. Okay, I think at this point, even in the second, because I don't think I got up to this point in the first watch. I don't think, because I think this is after I paused it. Like when she turned into a robot, it does all the cool stuff because it has my favorite scene in the whole film. That is the one bit that I absolutely loved, which is they take Ilea to sick bay and then they do some tests and then they're talking outside and then mid conversation Kirk and like Spock are talking. I think it's Kirk and Spock.
Yeah.
They're talking and then Ilea just walks through the wall.
I love
She
that.
literally just tears through the door, leaves like a human-sized hole in the doorway, and you can see the sort of twisted metal on either side of it, and you can see Nurse Chapel over her shoulder just being like, what the fuck? And it's literally this Ilea robot just going like, I got bored of that. You know, I got bored of
Yeah.
that. I will now take in what's going on in this room. And I absolutely love this. This is like, why was there not more of this kind of thing in the film? Because it's comedy, but also scary because we're threatened by this new creature.
They could have got to this point so much more earlier, and then could have
No.
fleshed out this part. This half the movie could have been fleshed out a lot better.
You know what I wrote? What I've written down, okay? This whole fucking thing, okay? Up to them, this is the cold opening, okay? This is the first scene of an episode. I would have done it if it was like Next Gen or whatever. I would have done it where they literally open the captain's log saying, hey, We are traveling out to Enterprise on a newly refurbished Enterprise, off to investigate this big cloud thing where Klingon ships have gone missing, blah, blah, blah. We're joined by sort of Decker and obviously Ilea, who is a race of special things. Have a scene like that, and then them get attacked by the probe when they come up to it, and then she reappears as a robot, and that's the cold opening. And then the credits roll on the episode, and the first scene is her in sickbay, and them going, "Oh, what's wrong with her?" and stuff. That is, and then the whole film would be a single episode. Like everything that we saw before them getting to Vija could have been in the captain's log. That's how none it is.
It's if they'd have reduced the padding in the first half of the film, we could have.
It just feels weird. As soon as I noticed that, I was like, now we're getting to an actual plot, but I have a lack of investment now because I'm already bored.
And we see Spock do the nerve pinch on a poor little airlock operator with a moustache.
Yeah, who is this? Couldn't he just go to that guy? Is it because the problem is Spock doesn't say to anyone what his plan is. No. So all we see is him literally going into a room. I didn't know it was the airlock. I didn't see any signs saying that. But basically, Spock goes into a room, sneaks up on a guy, nerve pinches him, and the next time we see him, he's floating through space in a suit. And I'm like, this could have been telegraphed better. Because I didn't know. I was like, did I miss something? I was tempted to rewind and be like, did I blink and miss an important scene? No? Okay.
No, because even in the director's cut, he's just like, he essentially just steals an EV suit, leaves via an airlock, and then does a recorded message to basically say, I'm trying to communicate with Vija and study more about him. And then
he doesn't express anything before this that he's not happy with how they're going about things or anything, does he?
No, absolutely not.
It just comes out of the blue, and I was like, "What? Why is he nerve pinching someone? What's going on?"
The plan is we've got this probe. It's from Vija. We are trying to make contact. We are trying to understand what they want. Blah 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 blah. And he's just like, "Yeah, cool, bye." Goes out of an airlock, and he's going, "I'm going to go talk to Vija." And you're like, there is literally someone on board who you can communicate with Vija, and who we find out later in the movie has the ability to communicate with Vija to do this, and he's
I don't even know if they can though, because it has scenes where they're going, if only we had a way of talking to Vija, and she's standing right there, and you're like, and you're like, it's just very weird.
It's
sometimes
frustrating.
She can communicate with Vija, and then sometimes she can't, and it's like, I don't get this at all.
But it's frustrating. But again, it's another unnecessary shot where it's just like, oh, Spock's got to fly into the, and I'm sorry, I don't care what you call it, it is an anus, okay? It is an anus.
It's anus.
He rocket boosts right up the cornhole of Vija. Okay, to try and communicate. Why Spock thinks the first form of communication is pegging, I don't know.
In some cultures, pegging is the greatest compliment you can give.
Flies into the arsehole of Vija.
Middlesbrough.
Arsehole of Middlesbrough? Oh, God, no. Flies into the arsehole of Vija.
That's where you live.
And it's red at the moment. Hey.
Oh.
And then he gets to see all these packets of data and memories of Vija's journey to Earth, and we see this planet, where Vija has apparently come from, and all the planets in the journey. And we see Epsilon 9 perfectly preserved, and then we see Ilea, who is a massive planet-sized figure with a Logan's Run jewel on her neck, and then Spock meets Spock.
This is what annoys me, because Spock kind of goes, the jewel must be really, really important.
Yeah.
Spoilers, it's not. It's never mentioned again. But
I must meld with it.
Yeah, he has this line about like, oh, well, the jewel must be of some significance. And then just, no.
I must meld with it. And then he melds with it, gets an overload of information, and then gets, again, sorry to be crude, shat out of the anus of Vija back to the Enterprise, where Kirk is just floating outside waiting for him.
Yeah, that's it. There's no scene of Kirk being like, hey, where's Spock? Like, he's outside. Oh, God, what is he doing? We must go out and rescue him. There's nothing. There's literally just, oh, well, he's just there.
There is.
In space now.
In this, there is a scene
is there?
Where he's on the bridge, and Chekhov goes, there's been an unauthorized airlock opening at airlock 5. A suit's gone missing. Where's Spock? We can't find Spock. And Kirk instead of saying get him back, goes, give me his exact location.
Yeah.
This is before we get the 5-minute exposition of Spock flying through V'ger's anus.
Yeah.
He gets shot out of the anus, and there's Kirk just floating there, waiting for him.
And it's like, why does it have to be Kirk? Couldn't it be anyone?
Why didn't they beam him onto the ship?
Yeah, it's like, it's just very odd because, but then basically, then we go, hey, Spock's mind has been blasted because he's like mind melded too far and he's had too much information put in. And you go, oh, is this going to be a plot point where Spock actually has all the answers, but they need to get him out of the coma or anything? No, he just wakes up. That's fine. And it's like, oh God, he's in a coma. And then they talk and have another conversation, and then Spock wakes up behind them, and they're like, "Oh, hi, Spock." It's
the only bit of exposition.
About, like, all of the missed opportunities in this plot-wise.
The only bit of exposition we get in this scene is that V'ger is a being of pure logic. There is no emotion because V'ger cannot comprehend such a thing. So when he holds Kirk's hands, he goes, "This simple action is far beyond V'ger's comprehension." So we know that this machine, it is a machine, is unfeeling. Okay? That's all we got from this 15-minute bit of the movie. That V'ger is a machine incapable of emotion.
Oh, my word.
That is it. What's next?
Yeah. I have 2 more notes.
Go ahead.
And there's about another half an hour of the movie left.
Yeah.
Possibly a full hour. I don't know.
No, this is literally.
I just gave up writing notes because I was like, oh, yeah, it kind of plays out how you want to.
But this is the thing. V'ger reaches Earth, and all the way through, the time.
We didn't know that they were traveling inside V'ger. Like, there was no indication that while they got into V'ger and stuff, and they were doing all of these scenes like Spock floating through it, there was no real indication that V'ger hadn't stopped, like that V'ger was still traveling to Earth.
No one
it's a bit weird.
Yeah,
they literally go warp 7 and stuff in order to sort of get to V'ger, and then they go inside V'ger, and then the next thing we see is, oh, now they're at Earth, and I'm like, so did it just encapsulate you and you traveled with it and it never slowed down? Or I don't know, but they appear at Earth.
They appear, the cloud has dissipated, they appear at Earth. In the director's edition we get the swanky new VFX that they've redone, so we actually see the ship of V'ger, this massive vessel that was right at the center of the already massive cloud, which is now dissipated. It's arrived at Earth, and it is sending a signal because V'ger wants to contact the creator. So it starts transmitting a signal to Earth. However, the signal that it is transmitting is a conventional radio signal, which by the 23rd century, no one is using.
Yeah. So this, and I will admit, this is a great idea. This is the gem, the diamond in the rough of this movie, is that V'ger has been desperately contacting Earth for its whole journey, sending messages to Earth, and then wondering why it's not getting a response.
Yeah.
And what Spock finds out is he goes, V'ger is looking for its creator because it's basically depressed. It's basically gone, hey,
it's got daddy issues.
I've studied daddy. No, it's like, I've studied absolutely everything. I found out everything there needs to know in the universe. What is next? There has to be more to existence than this. I can't work it out. It doesn't compute logically. Like that, the point of the purpose of life is not logical. So I'm going to find my creator, and they'll have the answers for me. So it goes back to where its creator's meant to be, which for some reason that we don't know yet is Earth. And it's been hailing its creator for like centuries with no response. And then it gets to Earth, is still trying to contact the creator, and then starts going, hey, well, actually, I'm going to start attacking Earth then if it's not going to respond to me, because, if it's going to ignore me, then I'm just going to get angry and have a tantrum like a spoiled child.
The
That they point out.
carbon-based
But
life
then,
forms are infecting the home of the creator. That's
yeah.
what Ilea says. The probe says. That's
So
why they start firing out the
So
things.
Earth hasn't been responding to any of the messages because they're so outdated, because they're radio waves, and no one on Earth, or at least in government on Earth, in Starfleet, is checking for these. Like, no one's listening to the airwaves anymore because they all have better methods of communication. And
They have
Vija takes
DAB.
that. Yeah. Oh, it kind of works. They've got 6G now over there,
Oh my god.
all the birds are dead.
Think of the mind control. Anyway.
But and then and that's what they point out. So they point out, and then Vija jumps to the conclusion that its creator must be inorganic as well. It must be a robot as well.
Yep.
And these carbon-based life forms must be attacking the creator and must need to be destroyed, which is why it fires out like these 5 bolts, and then these bolts like stay in orbit. And apparently Spock talks about how, oh my god, they could destroy the whole planet if they sort of are let loose.
And all the planetary defenses are down, and the only starship within 3 days of Earth is the Enterprise, because someone at Starfleet...
You wouldn't have this in the fucking Dominion War.
You wouldn't have this in any decent company with, competent logistics to have only one fucking ship within 3 days of Starfleet headquarters. I mean, this is why...
ludicrous, like...
I think this is why we see more ships going forward, because they're just like, oh shit, we can't just defend Earth with one tiny starship. Shit.
Should we have built more ships? No, never mind.
Too much effort. How many establishing shots are we going to do for every starship, Frank? Come on. Anyway,
that's what they were doing. They're too busy doing. They finally finished another ship, but they're still filming the establishment shots for the movie. So it's like another 5 years before the next one can be released.
Andrew Probert just delicately designing every single Aztec tile on every single ship. It's just like, Andy, man, we need about 300 ships. Shh, I'm on to 3. Let's go. But yeah,
in 40 years' time, they're just going to do this for CG. And calm down.
Yeah,
they're just going to duplicate the models with it from the game.
Bob Wise, before he sadly passes away, is going to completely scupper the entire establishing shot and redo it so it's better and more manageable. Oh, really? Okay, I'll just continue doing it. But
why do I bother?
So it puts these things in orbit of Earth. The defenses go down, and Vija is trying to contact the creator, and he's getting no response. So the Vija is getting frustrated. Why are they not contacting? So Kirk decides to call decides to bluff to Vija. Says, I know where the creator is. I can get the creator, but you need to withdraw the weapons from the 3rd planet. Otherwise, I will not give you that information. Now, this is the scene that we were on about earlier on, where Spock going into the annals of Vija was pointless because Ilea, the probe, had direct contact with Vija and could control everything within Vija, because Ilea withdraws the probes.
Kirk calls Ilea's bluff. And Ilea obviously has a way of contacting Vija to go, hey, what do I do? Okay, cool, right, that's fine. And which basically but then doesn't later on. So it's odd. It's basically, is Ilea the one controlling these bolts, or are they actually one with Vija? I don't know. Like we say, it changes between scenes.
It changes. So the Enterprise, which is still inside the Vija craft...
say it is a cool scene, though. This is the thing. I don't like Kirk as a character, because Kirk pisses me off because he's too toxic masculinity for me. But this is Kirk working well. Like, the fact that he does this crazy gamble, and it is risky, but the fact is he's just like, no, I get this. Vija's just acting like a spoiled child. It's just having a tantrum. That's what it is. As soon as and then he notices that basically Vija starts like, there's rumblings around the ship and whatnot, because Vija is like powering up weapons and stuff whenever Kirk just goes, no, I won't tell you that information. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
And then realizes that Vija, this is how you can control Vija by basically going, hey, I've got this information. You need to do what I'm saying in order to get it, because otherwise you'll never get to the creator. And it works effectively. And then hilariously though, Aliyah does call his bluff back, and
But then
be
McCoy
like,
turns around and goes, learns fast.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It's the idea of he's like, oh well, if you stop this, I'll take you to the creator. And then she's just like, prove the creator, and it's like, oh fuck, oh, never mind. I forgot what it is,
but yeah, so she wants the information. He refuses to give the information to her. He wants to give the information to Vija directly. Call it, like bluffing again.
Yeah.
We need to speak to Vija directly to give the location of the creator. So the ship is then dragged further into the ship where they are brought to the creator, which this, in the original film, when the Enterprise is like at the edge where the creator is, and like an atmosphere is formed and there's a platform, this is one of the worst looking scenes in any movie I've ever seen, because what they essentially did was, you see, when the crew come out to the top of the ship.
Yeah, it's rotoscoped, isn't it?
It's a matte painting that they use, but the matte painting is so bad that the Enterprise looks like a mountain. So it's like the saucer looks like that.
Yeah.
So they completely rebuilt this scene in the director's cut to make it look nice and to actually look real. You honestly,
I think I must have seen the director's cut then, because I remember this scene looking amazing, just lasting way too long.
Again, again, you are right, but the original scene from the '79 movie, it is horrendously bad. Like I have, who thought that looked good? It really, for the longest time, it really pissed me off. And then when this came out, it was like, yes, they've actually taken this scene and made it look better. If they were going to redo any part of this film, this was it, and this is what needed it to be done. I
will say though, yes, I think this scene looks amazing in the director's cut, but I'm assuming it looked terrible. Like I say, I think what I did is originally I was watching the normal version, and that's the one that I turned off. Yeah. And then I think the next one I watched must have been the director's cut, because I remember it being, looking good here. But we do raise a rather interesting question here of, they are standing on the hull of the Enterprise, which is huge. Like, it's meant to be absolutely huge, but they look kind of big on it. Like, it doesn't look in proportion here. But they have no spacesuits or anything. So in Vija, is there just an atmosphere? Because we're saying the cloud is dissipated, but then they're not in spacesuits. They're standing on the thing.
I have just sent you the image that I'm referring to, and everyone.
What is it on WhatsApp?
It's on WhatsApp. Yeah, I have sent you the original, and that's how bad it looked. So Chekhov actually says there's an oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere that has formed an envelope around the Enterprise. Meaning they don't need any spacesuits or anything like that. It's formed around Vija and the Enterprise, so they can just literally take an elevator to the saucer section and walk to Vija.
But this is the thing, it's like, why? Like, did Vija do this in a matter of seconds just so that they could walk to it, rather than teleporting them to a sealed room? Like, the whole thing is basically, yes, I know that this could happen, but it just feels too far-fetched even for Trek, like,
I'm gonna do some ad hoc.
Why does it make a bridge? It can create a nitrogen fucking atmosphere out of, like, a sort of oxygen nitrogen atmosphere out of nowhere in a matter of seconds, but then has to brick by brick create a bridge to get to the middle of it, rather than just getting the ship closer to the bridge.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is what it looked like in the original '79 movie. That is how bad that scene looked.
Like,
it is,
but scale-wise, they still look too big for how big the Enterprise is meant to be, right?
Yeah, it is awful, and I am so glad that they got rid of that. But it forms this envelope so they can walk to Vija. They walk all the way, which looks like the stones. Is it Galway that have those stones?
Yeah, no, in Ireland, like the Devil's, what's it called?
Devil's Causeway.
Devil's Causeway, yeah.
Ooh.
No, it does look like that.
Giant's Causeway. Sorry, my
There we
mistake.
go.
There we go. Yeah. Sorry.
But yeah, this is what annoys me when you just have these things where it looks cool, and I can be more forgiving of stuff like Discovery or the sort of the later movies, like the remade J.J. Abrams movies,
Yeah.
because it just goes. I understand that scene was there because it's a movie and dramatic effect, but then this just it just doesn't feel right. The
No.
whole thing of going, why is this happening? But it looked cool. I'll give it that.
So we finally get the reveal, though, of Vija, and it turns out to be an old satellite.
It's actually, this is amazing. This is my favorite bit of the movie, is that they basically go to it and it looks like an Earth satellite. It's just basically a room where all of this technology is spread out from this central point of this old, like, looking like Earth satellite.
Yeah.
And we get a bit of a cool twist, a bit of a cool reveal, I think.
So Kirk walks to this satellite, looks at the plaque, the name plaque, VGER. Vija. Vija. The music bass line kicks in. Kirk starts rubbing away at the dirt and the debris. VOYGER. Voyager. Voyager 6.
There's an A in there as well.
Yeah, sorry, VOYAGER. Voyager 6. Then they realise this is an old NASA satellite, Voyager 6, that disappeared in what we used to call a black hole.
But it was apparently a wormhole to another part of the galaxy, because I think it's still in the Alpha Quadrant. I don't know.
Spock deduces that the satellite fell into a wormhole, appeared in another part of the galaxy, fell into the orbit of this race of machine beings who looked at the rudimentary programming of the satellite, which was learn all that is learnable.
Yeah.
And then they created...
They decided to help it.
Yeah,
so basically they went, hey, you're a machine as well. You must be a really dopey cousin of ours because you're not very advanced. And therefore they went, oh, we're just going to build on you and advance your intelligence and whatnot, but then keep you doing your main mission, which is to find out everything about everything.
Yeah.
And then just released it back into the world. And obviously it's been able to keep building on itself until it's become this huge ship. But the whole point is that now it has learned everything. It's been around the whole galaxy and everything. And now it's like, what do I do next, Dad? What's the next bit?
It wants to contact its creator. It wants to know its
creator. It wants to pass on the knowledge. It wants to go, hey, I've studied everything. Here's the stuff back. But, yeah.
So they contact Starfleet to get the radio code to activate Vija to transmit all this data.
One scene that would have been good is the poor bastard at NASA being like, what? You want the access code for what? Oh, it's got to be here somewhere.
Someone sat
10-minute scene of him tearing every single book apart.
Someone sat there in the archive going, who the fuck's NASA and why do I need a code? And then just
like, what?
Within 5 minutes, Starfleet having the sequential activation code for a probe that was launched 300 years ago. Yeah. That's some really good Wikipedia finding.
You try getting Tracy in the office to remember a bloody password from last week.
You try getting British Gas to get a bill for you from last month. It's insane. But they get this, they punch in the code, and when they're about to punch the final sequence, the probe shorts out. You see a little thing. Spock opens it, and Kirk goes, the antenna leads have been melted. And Spock goes, yes, by Vija just now. And then
I love this, though, where it's the fact of, it's a tactical thing that Vija has done, because it is like a child, effectively, where it has burnt out its own, transmission circuits so that it can't hear the rest of the code. Because it wants its creator to come to it to input it manually so that Vija knows that it's creator. Because Vija believes that only one person created it. And that it's not a team of people. It believes there's one entity, like a god, that is the only thing that can come to it and give it the code that it requires to complete its mission. So it burns out its transmission sequence so it can't just be sent it. so that God has to come to it in order to, like, help it out, or else it'll destroy the thing that God cares about, like Earth.
Yep.
It's a wonderful little scene. Like, I really like this tactic. This is what I mean about Asimov. This whole thing just feels Asimov,
Well, the connotations and the tone of it, it's absolutely all the way Isaac Asimov. The yeah, so Vija wants the creator to be there. Decker just volunteers.
Yeah.
Decker has just got a demand to unalive himself, I believe, at this point. He's been cooked to the point for the last 2 hours, and then he goes to Kirk, you got the Enterprise, I want this. So Decker, with the obvious support of the ILEA probe, chooses to repair the antenna leads, to begin the transmission of data, and then,
he knows.
They theorize we've missed a bit. We've missed a bit because they speculate. The Vija has learned everything it needs to know. The next step is evolution.
Yeah.
Voyager wants to merge with its creator. There is other things to learn. Is this it? Is this all that needs to be learned? And Spock goes, no. Yeah. There are other dimensions, other universes, higher planes of existence.
Which is the interesting thing, because what happened? This is actually, you're right. We totally missed this bit, but basically they go that if you have a perfectly logical view of the universe, then there is an end. You can just go, hey, that's that, and therefore everything is very cold and there's no hope because, logic. And, but Decker points out, but there's loads of stuff. There's like other dimensions. There's other like this, that, and the other. There's religion. There's like belief and faith and stuff. And Spock is like, yeah, but when you're logical, you can't believe in that because you can't believe in another dimension unless you can access it. So what they realize is that Vija's next evolution is becoming human, or at least gaining human traits, so that it stops being so logical,
he needs
so that
it can actually
element. Yeah, so it can actually do this leap of faith that allows it to find out more stuff and continue going on and learning new things. And that's when they realize, oh, it needs to merge with its creator, a human, in order to actually go, oh, you can think outside the realms of logical possibility, which is cool because this is the wonderful thing, because this is Spock's plot line where he's gone around going, because the whole thing about Spock throughout everything, throughout original series, the movies, and like Strange New Worlds, is he is conflicted because half of him is human with emotions and irrationality, and then half of him is Vulcan where it's purely logic, and he has to sit in the middle going, both of these are valid in their own way but they don't work together. And he's tried to be fully logical, he's tried to be, get rid of all emotion and stuff, and he's found that it's empty. He doesn't actually enjoy it at all, like it's not for him. And then in Strange New Worlds we see him try to be fully human and emotional, and we realize that it's not for him. And what he's realizing here is the sweet spot is being emotional enough so that you can enjoy life and you can actually progress as a person while being logical enough to be productive and be stalwart.
It's a symbiotic relationship between two sides, and we see that with Spock through his evolution, that he can't be pure Vulcan, he can't be pure human. He has to have a symbiotic relationship with both parts, as is Vija, who is a purely logical machine, can continue to learn because they now have a symbiotic relationship with them. They're merging with human, with a human, with their creator, so that they are able to then learn more and understand higher planes and understand religion, like you said, and what it is to feel and to become human. So
to make leaps of faith, so that you can actually progress. Because what we have with science is a lot of the reason why science has progressed is because it's not logical. Because we do just go, there's a big missing gap here. There's a big question mark in the elemental table where we know something must exist, but we haven't found it yet, but we know it exists because of this, that, and the other, which is illogical. Effectively, you're going, hey, you believe in something that you can't prove because, of these other factors. and it's how everything works. So it's the fallacy of being purely logical, which is what we see. It's just annoying that it feels unearned that this is like Spock's plot arc for the film because it's told so badly. But
Yeah.
it's great, the starting point of he's trying to be fully logical and it doesn't work for him, and then he ends up realizing, oh, there's a balance, but it just doesn't pay off properly because it's very badly handled. But basically, what we have is we have Decker going, "Hey, I've got nothing else to live for. This robot here looks like my dead love, so I might as well be with her as a robot creature kind of thing, or as a thing. So I'm just gonna unalive myself to save the universe, and then I'll merge with Vija."
Merge with
And so he
Vija,
does
but
that.
doesn't merge with Vija, merges with the probe.
Yeah, it's like the probe comes up to him, and then it's in the sequence
It's
at
in
the
the
bottom.
banner there.
Like
You
what
see the fan machine and the backlighting. Yeah.
Yeah, where the annoying thing is, this would look way more dramatic had she got hair. Because basically, we have this fan from under them, so his hair is billowing around and blowing up and stuff, and just nothing from her because she's bald. And you're just going like, there we go, there it is. There,
Which is
but
the thing, because Persis Kambata has lovely hair. And it's
yeah,
I've seen her in other movies and she's got lovely black hair. And it was like to see that with Decker's just little quiffs going on, but with
yeah,
long hair doing that, going upwards as you see this evolution, this evolution, this merging of two beings together. It would have looked aesthetically more pleasing had she got hair.
yeah.
But again, it made no sense. But they
It's
run
it's
towards.
another thing of the film going style over substance.
Yeah,
And so it would have looked better and it would have worked better in this scene, but they had decided that she needed to be bald because 70s aesthetics.
yeah.
Like
So
that's what sci-fi is.
we then see that Vija evolves, goes to another plane of existence, we suspect, because we don't know why.
It just vanishes.
It just
we
vanishes.
never hear of it again in Trek.
We then see another pretty image of the Enterprise, and then just Kirk speculates: have we just witnessed the birth of a new species, of a new being? And they're just like, well, yeah. And McCoy's just like, it's been a while since I've delivered a baby.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think
And the
we've got
line
some good
falls as
stuff.
flat as his other
Yeah.
jokes, even though that should be hilarious. But it's just
And then the
the
movie
way
ends.
the film does it is,
The movie ends. Let's give her a shakedown, set a course. Oh yeah, that away, and then that's it.
See, I quite like this. It's like the sort of thing of if this was delivered, same as the other things, if this was delivered in a normal episode where it literally has them going, hey, okay, well, that's done. We're next to Earth. We should take the Enterprise back into space dock and whatnot. And Kirk's like, no, I'm going to stay in charge for a bit longer. And then, they go, oh,
Yeah.
set a course. Where do you want to go? That way. And it works. It's a fun little thing from William Shatner at the end. But it falls flat because the movie just doesn't suit it.
They did it better. They did it better in Star Trek 6 because he quotes Peter Pan. So you just go second star to the right and straight on till morning. And it's brilliant. This one, it's just like, that away. At this point, though, when they did the film, they didn't know that it was going to turn into a whole series of films. This was just a one shot to see what they could do. And even in the credits, like, the human adventure is just beginning. No one knew that there was going to be a sequel at this point. Everyone in the cast thought that this was just a one and done. That's it. The band's back together. We've done this. We're off now. Now, I put it to you, Science Officer Synoiz, because the
Mirror Universe Synoiz, even though I've totally forgotten that because we've been doing this for 2 hours.
That's fine. This movie was going to be used and linked to the Borg. This was going to be the origin. This was shot down by Gene Roddenberry very early on. But the machine beings who constructed Vija were going to be the Borg. And like Gene Roddenberry said, they can't be because the Borg cannot exist without the biological element, whereas the species that was in the motion picture, they were pure machine beings. They were pure logical, where the Borg's motivation was assimilation, was we need our biological and technological to keep us, we need everyone's distinctiveness to be our own, and we need to learn from other cultures. So I'm sort of glad they didn't use Vija as an origin story for the Borg because it would not have fit.
I don't know though, because the problem is, I remember hearing this ages ago because obviously it's the natural fan theory that you
Yeah,
come up with because it's so A to B.
yeah,
But it's the fact of I remember sort of going, oh, what a cool idea that would be. And then I looked into it and it had people asking Gene, and he's like, no, of course not. What a stupid idea. That's not, that's not
yeah.
the intention whatsoever. Like, that thing where someone just goes, no, that's not a thing. Like, and you're like, oh, well, he is the creator. So I guess what he says goes. But the whole point is, though, isn't that what happens at the end of this film? Isn't the end of this film Vija going, hey, technology works really well when you add
Yeah.
a human element to it. So surely this then going into the Borg being created is the natural development.
Like
You could
they could have
happily just
seen.
springboard from this to the Borg, where Vija has forgotten, like, or Vija's gone like, oh wow, I am the next stage of evolution. I should take over everything. I am the best way of doing things. I'm one of the people who's just like, yeah, that would work really well.
They
Like,
could have
but they just didn't go with it.
the race that sent Voyager back could have studied the information, observed, oh, the biological and the technological were born together, which allowed them to ascend into a new understanding and a new, gather more information. And no, never ever happened.
It's
The
also
next
the
time,
idea of
though,
going that we're saying that this Vija hasn't actually gone that far. Like, it hasn't gone to sort of the Delta Quadrant or anything like that. It hasn't gone that far out. But then we still never, ever, ever hear of this machine race again.
but this is the thing.
Like,
The last time it is actually showed is quite recently in Star Trek Online, which is obviously beta canon. But then they're like, they did a whole arc about Vija, but a mirror universe, haha, Vija,
yeah.
that was was
Oh,
hell
wow.
bent on just total and complete destruction of carbon-based units. But then
Yeah.
they sort of elaborated on the whole vaporizing probe thing, and they
Yeah.
were like, it doesn't actually kill you; it converts you into data packets, and you
Well,
are
they say that in
stored.
the movie, though. Aliyah says that. Aliyah says that all carbon units will be translated into data in order to be analyzed.
But in a twist in the game, because it gets to the point where this version of Vija has has entered the solar system and slowly starts converting every planet. It goes all the way to Mars, just completely transfers Mars into a data packet, gets to Earth.
Yeah.
You defeat it, you sort it, and then it just goes, oh yeah, we could just revert them back to normal now. So then Jupiter Station is back, Mars is back, all these people that died
That's such a fucking cop
are
out.
back, and I'm just like, what? Like that's such a that's not what happened in the. So you're telling
Died
me
for nothing.
yeah, so you're telling me in the movie those Klingons died, all the people that he studied died, the Epsilon 9 station just died. They could have just been transferred back to normal. It's a bit of a cop out.
Even ask. They never asked, like, Vija, hey, can you just bring Ilea back? Like, they never
Yeah.
even consider it. They never go, hey, could we actually have the space station back? No, they don't do
If
that.
you have
They
learnt
just,
everything that needs to be learnt, surely you would know how to bring someone back to life if it was possible. So, wow, we did it.
You did it. Like, I'm sorry, anyone watching this, fans in the chat or whatnot, that I have been so overly critical of this film. But it's the fact of, as we see from last week's episode where we were talking about the wonderful DS9 episode Bar Association, there is big gulfs in the quality of Trek. And I will say that if I don't criticize this, then I'm kind of insulting the really good films and the really good bits of the original series by not holding this to account for just how annoying it is that it's such a wasted opportunity and how it just doesn't use these characters that we love very dearly properly. Like, that is what annoys me about this film. Like, all these little bits where you just go, that could have been great, but it's not its shit. Like, one thing I haven't even talked about, I hate the aesthetics of this film. The special effects, like the ships look amazing and stuff. all of the costume designs are awful.
70s,
All of the colors
dull
are
colours.
awful. Like,
Yeah.
they're just silly things like, Kirk's captain's chair. It's got these random weird foldy side things in that we never see in anything ever. And it's so dumb. It's just, I hate the design of it. Did you see the security guards where they just look like stormtrooper type things where they got a weird helmet on and they've got a weird sort of chest plastic bit on? Everything looks terrible, and all of the color scheme looks like a damp swatch palette from like sort of a paint catalog.
It's very 70s, and it's very 70s concept, and it's very Ralph McQuarrie, who did all the there was a book that was established canon until the Next Generation. It was like the history of Starfleet from 1962 to 2101, blah blah blah. And it's got these lovely illustrations all the way through of like the history of space flight and man walking on the moon and stuff like that. The design in this film is very 70s. At the end of the 70s, it's very brown, very cream, very
brown, grey,
very grey,
damp pastels.
Yeah,
Debbie pastel.
But it's like everything is dull, and what you do notice, there is no red shirts. In any of the uniforms. It's brown, it is beige, it is blue, it is white.
Is that because the red shirt thing was a trope and they were actively avoiding it?
Yes.
At that point, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But the uniform, I mean, they
might as well have put Ilea and fucking Decker in red shirts and just been like, "There's the plot for you." We created whole new characters. I wonder if they'll die.
But we will see in Star Trek 2 the massive, huge overhaul in the aesthetics, in the costume design, in the special effects, in everything, because this was just the pilot. I'm just going to say it's the pilot movie.
Yeah.
That they were like, we did this, let's not do that again. Let's redesign it. Because the costumes, let's be honest, it was just tight tennis shirts and then nightgowns. That's all it was. It was 70s swinger chic.
Oh, that awful! What's that awful outfit Kirk has later on? I think at the end he's got like a white sort of like sleeveless like jacket or something, and it's the ugliest thing I've ever seen.
No,
and just all of it. The only costume that looks good is Robot Ilea with the big collar and the bald head and the gem. That looks good. That looks iconic. Everything else just looks awful.
You go to any Star Trek convention or any Star Trek gathering or anything like that, I guarantee you, no one, and I mean no one, is cosplaying from the motion picture. There is nothing for sale for the motion picture, because it's just like original series, Wrath of Khan, everything else. Because the design, I mean, what is that black thing that they have at the center of their stomach? What is that?
I don't even remember.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what is the point of it? Kirk's Admiral's uniform looks good. That's it. Everything else is like you said, it's a dull pastel. It's a dull colour range all the way through. They blend into the scenery so much.
Yeah.
Because you've got Uhura, Chekhov, and Sulu. They're in beige. The Enterprise bridge is beige. The carpets are brown. Everyone just blends into everything else.
Do you reckon this is a response to Star Wars? Because obviously one of the things about the original A New Hope is that everything is like the Jedi are in brown robes, Darth Vader is pure black, like everything is like deserts and these kind of colors, and even the greens look kind of pastel and whatnot. And I wonder if maybe they're just like, oh well, that's the palette that works for sci-fi. The thing is, I did not enjoy this movie at all. It has little gems of information that are great. It would have worked so much better as an episode of the Next Gen or the original series. 50 to 60% of the movie is the movie introducing itself as a movie. So it's basically the whole, hey, how does McCoy get on board? Oh, look, Uhura's just beamed on board. Oh, look, Spock's arrived. Oh, and you're just going, why did we need to do this? Why did we need to spend so long having the gang getting back together? Like, and I know at the time the fans were like, "Oh, we haven't seen them for ages, so we need to introduce them." But then it doesn't introduce them. It doesn't go, "Hey, it's Ahura. Let's give Ahura loads of cool stuff to say now that she's arrived." No, no, she's just here now. Right, great.
This,
Sit down, woman.
It was a financial success because every Trekkie just wanted to see the band back together.
Yeah.
Story, no one, and I mean, this is straight from Rick Berman's mouth.
I hate straight.
This is from Rick Berman's mouth.
Your face makes that worth it.
Who phrasing?
I've said that before.
I remember this interview in 2001 when it was Star Trek's 35th anniversary. Oh my god, 35th anniversary. Sorry, mild existential crisis just came upon me. It's 58 years old now.
Me realizing bloody DS9 is the 30th anniversary last year, wasn't it?
God,
You're
it
just
was,
like,
yeah.
oh wow.
Right. Anyway, 30 years since Star Trek Generations. Kill me. So, Rick Berman, during the interviews, they were on about when the motion picture came out. Paramount didn't, ironically, Paramount not caring. Paramount did not care about the story. No one cared about the story. The audience did not care about the story. They just wanted to see this crew on this ship going out on an adventure, and it was a financial success. And what I find hilarious is, and this was actually on the Shuttlepod show. This was Walter Coyne's interview. And it was on a few other interviews as well. They saw the screening of the motion picture. They were at the premiere at the TLC in LA. When it was over, everyone just stood up and looked at each other and just went, "Yep, that was a movie. Okay, see you later."
Was it?
No, but that was it. Everyone thought that was it. It would be done. Until they got the phone call a couple of years later for the Wrath of Khan. Without this movie, without the motion picture,
I love how put that
not...
back on camera at Goodwill. I love how the cover of it, that is more exciting than the entire film. That is more colorful than the entire film. Like, there is no red or green that bright in the entire movie. That is what is really frustrating about this. Is the box makes it look way more exciting than it actually is.
But that's how you draw them in. You need a good poster to draw people in. That time, very much like video games.
Where was the red in the film?
But very much
all fucking blues and greys.
But very much like video games of the 80s and 90s, you needed a good cover to bring people in because there was no such thing as the internet. There was magazines, and that was it.
I was watching an amazing YouTube video. This is total tangent about the I think it was the Ultima games and whatnot, and about how they were one of the first games to go, "Hey, if we spend a bit more money on the box for this, and we have a big fancy big box for this with fantasy artwork and like dramatic stuff on, then people are gonna buy it just to see what the game's like, even though the game looks like crap kind of thing. It was a good game, but it looked like crap." That was the first time that happened, and it became such a trope of basically going, "Whoa, make the box art look really amazing so that people pick it up and whatnot." And it's a tactic that's always existed in marketing, I guess.
But ironically, the color scheme in this box art we then see in the Wrath of Khan. So that will be next month, though. Our February review will be Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Fingers crossed I will have the correct uniform and not a TNG Generations bastardization mashup that I hobbled together because I've been painting all day.
Hold on, fans in the chat, okay? If you're in the chat watching this, do you care that Goodwill is not wearing the correct captain's uniform to the film we're talking about? Sure. This is such a big deal for you, and I'm just going this is not a big deal for anyone that isn't you.
Let me have fun.
But when you're getting anxious about it, I'm just going but I'm just rocking up in a fucking velvet shirt,
Me? Overthinking with my reputation. Oh my God, speaking of, we've got an incoming transmission.
Incoming transmission.
Miles?
We don't have these in the mirror universe.
Miles?
We just have people tying notes to rocks and chucking them at us.
Ladies and
Ooh.
gentlemen, Treks and Trekkers, it has been absent for a few weeks, but it is back! The double wheel of episodes. For those playing the home game who are new to Trekking Up North, the double wheel of episodes has every episode of Star Trek Discovery programmed in. Shut your pretty face, Mirror Universe Synoiz. Has every episode of Star Trek in existence, bar Discovery, programmed into it. We spin the double wheel of episodes, and whatever it lands on, we must review the following week. Synoiz, or Mirror Universe Synoiz, or whoever the hell you are. Goth Synoiz.
Goths, no. Gothic. You one of them goths?
Gothoiz.
Goth.
What are you hoping to review next week? And if you say Code of Honor, I'm going to slap you.
Okay, good. Sub Rosa.
Fuck me.
I actually, the problem is I don't want to be boring and say more DS9 because I need this palate cleanser. I need more DS9 to get the bad taste this out of me. I do want anything from DS9, but I don't know. I'm thinking obviously I'd love a good episode of DS9, but I'd also love a good episode of the original series to redeem it, because obviously we've had a series 3 episode that we had a lot of problems with 2 weeks ago.
Oh, we had the menagerie.
This movie that I don't think we did have the menagerie, but it was a while ago. So yeah,
Spock kidnapping a disabled person and putting them in the broom cupboard.
I love when we broke down the plot to, that's the thing that appears on Amazon. That's the thing that appears on Netflix.
Spock is a really shitty care worker.
Yeah, Spock kidnaps a disabled person.
Oh, I love that. A Synoiz synopsis. A Synoizis.
A synopsis is basically what it would be like.
I am hoping, and I have said this since we started this, I am hoping for Enterprise.
Yeah.
We
need one. We have DS9, so it can happen. The double wheel isn't just limited to original series and TNG.
We
apparently, even though I programmed it.
What I love about doing Trekking Up North is we have got fans. We've got people who weren't fans of Star Trek.
We've got fans. We have fans. Surprisingly,
we have got people into Star Trek, and what I love is when we review the episodes, we get the viewers to review them with us, and. Enterprise is something we have not covered yet, and I love Enterprise dearly. I have got a very probably tear-jerking story to go with my love of Enterprise, which will probably have people go, "Oh, he's a bastard, he's made me cry." But it's something that when it came out, because it was 2001. So I was 14, 15 years old, and I got in on the ground floor with Enterprise, and I was heavily invested in it, and I was deeply upset when it was cancelled. And it's something so personal to me because it represented an era of my life of change, but then there was other stories to go with it. So I really am looking forward to, after this speech, the double wheel landing on Sub Rosa, because that's what's going to happen. It's going to be a season.
That's what it's going to be. Fucking Code of Honor.
It's going to be Code of Honor.
This is the really emotional reason why I need this to happen for me. It's fucking original series.
Oh, it's Spock's brain. Oh.
Spock-a-mock. There we go. There's the middle ground.
Spock-a-mock. Right. Are we ready to spin the wheel?
Okay, come on. I hope you're all ready watching this. I hope
remember,
you're all ready or at home to yell Dabo with us.
That's what I was about to say. When it lands, we all yell Dabo. So I am going to spin now. Oh my God, the anxiety. I always forget about the anxiety. Oh! Dabo!
It's fucking original series again.
Hate. By any other name. Wow. Okay. What I remember from this...
I feel like I might need to put the Dabo wheel into the repair shop and play around with it a little bit. Maybe to skew it slightly, because it is totally random, but
What I remember from this is Scotty drunk and someone asking, "What is it?" And he goes, "It's green." That's all I remember from this episode. Right, I'll get the synopsis.
After your emotional thing there. Admittedly, though, I didn't actually see anything for Enterprise appear there in the Dabo wheel.
Have you fixed
cycling
this?
through the episodes.
Have you fixed this, you bastard?
No.
I think you fixed this.
You think I would choose this if I could fix it? If I could fix it, well, no. If I did choose to fix it, it would be Sub Rosa every week.
Okay.
Just to see your face.
Okay, so this is season
Ghost
2.
fuckers.
This is season 2, episode 22. By any other name, Star Trek: The Original Series. The synopsis: Galactic alien scouts capture the Enterprise for a return voyage and a prelude to invasion. Kirk's one advantage: they are not used to their adapted human form. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Treks and Trekkers, next week we will be reviewing Star Trek: The Original Series by any other name. God help us in reviewing another original series, and Synoiz going, "This is why Kirk is a dick this week."
Please let it be a good Kirk one. Please don't let him be.
I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you.
It's just because it is just, you know, when you feel like a broken record, being like, "Yep, it's me complaining about Kirk again." You know, it's just.
I am not going to tell you. But next week, by any other name, the original series, the information will be in our Discord when this episode goes live, due to our very loyal Discord creeps who are now into Star Trek. It's on Netflix in the UK.
Chris jumped ahead to DS9 after we were singing its praises on Bar Association. So he was posting about how he's just like gone, "Oh, right, I'm on to DS9 now." And I love that. I love that, you know, we sold it so heavily.
Chris, when you finished it,
to it,
when you were finished DS9, come back to us, Chris, and tell us how it changed your life. Because it will.
But this episode will be available on Netflix and Paramount Plus and online somewhere.
Dodgy up north. Guys, this has been Trekking Up North. If you liked this video, please click that like button. If you are not a member of the Nerdy Up North YouTube channel, click that subscribe. Caress the bell. So you know whenever we upload a new video, which at the moment is every 5 minutes, because holy shit, we are uploading shorts left, right, and centre. Some of which I don't know are going up. Some of which is me singing.
I'm just lucky that I've never actually said anything funny on Nerdy Up North. So like Paul barely ever gets to put clips of me up, so it's quite good.
Yes, the Firefly bit where I sang Hero of Canton is on a YouTube short.
Hey, it's good though.
I'm so incredibly happy that fat version of Goodwill is singing on a YouTube short.
I love that. I love that you're just like, "Oh, it's fat me," and we're just like, "Is it?" You know, like,
it's fat me. I had a double chin.
Oh my god, I was 2 pounds heavier back then.
Oh shut it! I was. Yes. We have an amazing. We have an amazing Facebook. I'm not laughing. We have an amazing Facebook community. So if you want to join us there on Facebook, we've got the Nerdy Up North community. We've got a Nerdy Up North page on Facebook. We have Twitter. We have the Tickies and the Talkies. We have Twitch, which I am a proud member of. And we recently played Wheel of Fortune when I was high on paint.
It's funny because it's true.
That's really is. Everything was red. I went bankrupt because I was high. We are on Twitter, like I said. We're on TikTok. You can follow me at Goodwill None on the Tickies and the Talkies. We are on Blue Sky. We are on Threads. Synoiz, where can we follow you? Even though it's in the description below.
Places, yeah. I'm on Twitch. I am the Velvet Snatch on Instagram, and that's my drag account. We are putting a lot of wonderful interviews. If you check Girl Global, GURL Global, on all of the social media platforms, we are posting a lot of the interviews that we all did at DragCon with famous drag queens from around the world. Those are very fun, and there's a lot of silly videos of us from the weekend if you're interested in RuPaul's Drag Race or drag in general. And that's it. There's other stuff, but I can't be fucked.
The motion picture has ruined us mentally.
Also, if you are a big fan, if you're watching this and you are a big fan of the motion picture and you disagree with the things that I've said or that Goodwill said, please message us, because it's the sort of thing. If I've been very nasty about this movie. I've torn it apart. I'm saying how much I don't like it. But the idea is, this is probably someone's gateway into Trek.
Yeah,
this is probably someone's only first Trek thing they saw. And they loved it. They thought it was amazing. And then they've gone the other route of next gen coming out. And they're like, oh, it's too flashy. And there's all these red people, people wearing red and stuff. And there's not big pauses between scenes. And I find that fascinating. So if you are a big fan of this movie, please join the Discord. Please get in touch with us on X or Twitter or whatever the fuck it's called now. And yeah, tell us about your experiences, because I'm open-minded to rethinking this movie. But I've sat through it twice now, and fuck that.
I went out to the wild and bought the 4K
I nearly
Ultra
bought
HD.
this, Goodwill.
Yeah.
I nearly bought this, and then I watched it, and I was like, "Oh, thank fuck, I didn't buy that." That is the most overpriced what is it, drinks mat I would have in my house, because it would never be watched again. Basically.
I had it on DVD, and I thought, no, I'm going to view, because every month I'm going to buy the 4K UHD version of the movies. This is going to be my way of upgrading my library whilst producing a show, so I'm happy about that. So I've gone the whole hog, and I started with the first one. I saw the rest of it, and I was like, ooh, pretty, but ooh, no, I don't have money. So every month I will review the 4K UHD version. I mean, to be fair, for value for money, I have got... that's an Assassin's Creed game, because it's still in my PS5. But you get 3 discs. You do get 3 discs. You get 2 versions of the film. So you
Is
get
it an extended cut where there's 2 more lines of dialogue?
This is the director's one is the extended cut. That's the thing. So you get a 4K UHD version. You get a 1080p version. Then special features, and then another UHD Blu-ray full of bonus features. There is, I think it's about 29 hours worth of content on this, where they go through the movie, what happened, interviews, and everything like that. So for me,
imagine if it was all of that, 29 hours of content, and it's literally just they extended the space dock scene. They just extended it to be even longer.
It's just Jerry Goldsmith freestyling to a starfield. Yeah. That's all it is.
It's the musical bit at the beginning, but 20 hours long. I mean, and then he just goes into the exact same movie afterwards.
If it was 29 hours of them just rotating around the Enterprise, for me, that is my kink. I would be happy with that. So, game on. And on that note, I think it's time to end the show, don't you? Right, guys, this has been Trekking Up North. We will see you next week. Until then, stay safe, take care of each other, live long and prosper, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Alia looks like Cynthia from Rugrats. Putting it out there.
Miles?
Miles?
Miles.
Miles.